Pareto Systems app is always on and free, so that you can have Pareto in your pocket, enabling you and your team to always work on your business, not just in it, to get from the day, not just through it, when it comes to consistent personal and professional development. Every business day will provide you with actionable content, ideas, videos, case studies, and other resources that you can translate into results. Invest 5 minutes a day, download the Pareto Systems app, and start working on your business. Okay, welcome back. And as I mentioned, it is an absolute honor and privilege to introduce you to a very good personal friend of mine, Steve Phillips, with the Advisor Protocol. I met Steve, actually he was a client before anything. I did an event for him in Lake Tahoe, and that's got to go back a decade or so ago. And very vivid recollection of that event. It was a beautiful setting, of course, but a very well-run event by Steve and his team. And just the alignment philosophically and just conceptually. Steve went on to become a Pareto certified coach, and now he has his own business where he injects a lot of the Pareto process into his branding consulting business. And there's a lot to like about Steve. Professionally, I mean, socially, we have a very good time, right, Captain Phillips? But professionally, what I really like is if you think about where you are today and where you see yourself in the future, in between that is a bit of a no man's land. That's kind of the interlude. And he gets you through that, especially in the areas of branding. And I touched on this earlier. Making sure that people can identify and connect with your process and your practice as much as they trust you and your people. So Steve utilizes more than 25 years of experience in the financial services industry as a speaker, a lot of mileage presenting in this industry, but he is a trainer and educator at heart. And if there's anybody who has worked on his craft diligently, as much as Steve, I don't think I've met them. He works, of course, with advisors, product development firms, insurance and risk management carriers, and he leads the Advisor Protocol team. And that's a great group of people over there. Today, the team consults with advisors and specializes in branding and business refinement. So this is going to be a fast-paced session, but Steve will be discussing the silver linings of branding and the adjustments you can make to how you're perceived and described in the marketplace. And then, of course, how that can impact you as you emerge from this current environment. So with that, again, excited to introduce you, if you've never met him before, Steve Phillips. Steve, take it away.
Hey, D-Mac, thanks so much for that introduction. Man, it is great to be with you, brother. All these years and to be a part of the summit and with a stellar lineup of speakers and presenters. I'm grateful for that. All of us at AP are grateful for that, so thank you. And think 10 years? Yeah, that's a third of my career, man. The best third of my career, I'm sure. That's what I've heard. No, of course, it's the best third of my career. So thanks so much. And again, privileged to be here. The Coiled Spring Summit, the silver lining of branding. So to all of you that are advisors that are taking time out of a busy day to be with us, thank you for the time. We're going to give you a couple of ideas I think that will be meaningful to your practice. Right off the bat, the silver lining. It goes hand in hand with a couple of things you see right on our title slide there that I believe in very deeply. Number one, Respect to all of you as advisors. We couldn't care less at Advisor Protocol whether or not your clients can talk about you. I think we all know that they can. What we care deeply about is whether or not they feel compelled to do so, and of course there's a gigantic difference. So think referrals and introductions. Number 2, business refinement and practice management done right provide a lot of things for your practice, but at the top of the list it ought to be to duplicate best clients. Better yet, let's compel those best clients to duplicate themselves, and we're going to share that with you. Another key point. Don't take my word for it. I don't think anybody really cares so much what I have to say. And again, I don't mean that to sound so self-deprecating. I'm very proud of our content and anxious to share it with you. But if I'm an advisor, I want to know a couple of things. Number 1, what are advisors just like me doing with this stuff? Is it working? How is it working? Why is it working? Why do they come back? I'll share that with you. Number 2, grew up in Kansas City. I have very deep industry roots here, have a lot of friends in the business, advisors that I've had a chance to do casual coaching with, and that's been a great benefit to me as I sharpen the saw and help my advisors get better. A couple of years ago, probably 4 years ago now, I got the opportunity to start sitting in with clients. That's amazing. And we started to be able to ask clients without their advisor around, what do you think of the process? What do you think of the pieces? What are the words that matter? Tell us your thoughts. All of what you're going to see that we share with you today has been taken from all of you, advisors that are doing it, and your clients. And so I think you're going to see some value in this, and we're anxious to share it with you. So let's jump right into it. You can go to a marketing company, a branding company, and I'm not hating on that, and have pieces built and get your website done and all of those types of things. And we'll find out about your logo and your colors and your team makeup and all of that. And it's meaningful. Now, it probably won't be connected to Pareto coaching. We're certified, 2 of us at Advisor Protocol are certified Pareto coaches, and that's an advantage in this particular initiative and environment because we know the verbiage. And let me say this really quickly. A lot of great coaches and coaching programs in our industry, but I think we'd agree, Blue Square, total client engagement, the Pareto system, the knowledge bank stands by itself. So when you deal with us, here's what happens. We want to make it about you. Go to a brand company, a marketing company, they're going to build fantastic pieces. I'm not downplaying that. But what we found over a number of years is that there'll be a moment a couple of years from now for the organization, an evolution of the organization, succession, new teammates, whatever it might be, and suddenly the brand that you purchased a few years ago isn't meaningful. Why is that? Because it's about the brand and marketing company, not about you. That's a significant difference. We won't do anything around brand and process and design until we understand some things about you. And let me just briefly walk you through what that's about. This really is our strategy. And when you think, you've heard Duncan and your business consultant talk about this. People, practice, process. Your clients have told us, look, I take for granted that my advisor is a good advisor. She cares deeply about the industry and her clients. But clients will go on to tell us, I want to be connected emotionally or personally on a whole different level. I want something that's meaningful, that stands out from the rest of the industry. This is why your story matters so much. So if you take a look at this slide, what you'll see is less than 1/10 of the work that we've done in the last year or so for advisors. And it looks like logos, and they are logos. But they're about as much a logo as the Nike swoosh is a logo. The Nike swoosh is not a logo. It's the outward-facing representation of a deeply seated brand. It tells a story. You see the swoosh, you think, just do it. You see the swoosh, you think, if you have a body, you're an athlete. And while the goal here is not to compare you to a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company, however big Nike is now, the theme is the same. And the quote on the top of this slide is really meaningful. I love this Simon Sinek quote. If you talk about what you believe, you will attract people who believe in what you do. Moreover, they will then introduce what you do to other people. And this is the input that we have gotten from clients, and while the process that we put together is meaningful. So I'm not going to name your process. I'm not going to sell you something. Let's get into a couple of exercises. Now, probably 30% of the advisors that come to us from Pareto have named their process already. Fantastic. They've done some logo work. Great. We still want to put you through this exercise for the purpose of understanding the soul of the business. Tell the story. Connect your clients to something personal and meaningful. We call it a brand attributes exercise, and there's no rocket science here. You're going to get this PDF. It's a blank PDF. I'm not looking for words or sentences or paragraphs. We're looking simply for words. And here's the first thing I'd like for you to jot down as I open this up. The words statement of intention. Statement of intention. Outside of the work that you do with your Pareto business consultant around your own value proposition, we don't build organizational value propositions or mission statements. I don't believe in them. Now, before that sounds too arrogant, let me say I believe in where they come from. But what I don't believe in is the ability of the organization to capture it over and over and over. I'll go and do in-person coaching with teams who I go around the table and ask, hey, tell the value proposition of the organization. And everybody will have a little different slant. So we're going to have you fill out a PDF. Make sure that everybody on the team does this. We're going to get to the deliverables in a minute. This is a key component of understanding you and then communicating in a compelling way to your clients. Everybody's going to fill in the words in the categories, your culture, your ideal client. You're doing that work with your business consultant. Your voice. How do you think you sound to others? What's the feeling people leave your office with? What's the impact? What's your X factor? And you're going to put in all these words. This is actually a copy of a live exercise we've done in the last few years with really a fantastic client of Advisor Protocol. Look at all the meaningful words there. Too many meaningful words. And this is part of the problem when it comes to communicating your process. So your team is going to get on the phone with my team. And we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to push you a little bit to think. And the goal is going to be to narrow all of those words down to one per category. And it comes out like this: your statement of intention. Now, here's what clients told us originally. I'd say, hey, you went into XYZ office. Did they talk about the value proposition of the mission statement? Some people say, yeah, it's written out on the wall. You can see all the words. And I'll say, how was that? They're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. The words are great. Push them a little further. They say, well, it really doesn't mean anything to us. That's an interesting little tidbit from clients. The very words statement of intention, the word intention is outward facing. If I intend to do something, somebody else is included. And so this is what it might look like, or this is what it might look like. Now, under the umbrella of professional contrast, imagine that this is the first thing that your clients come in contact with on your website or in the office. We actually have a firm out in San Diego that took their statement of intention and made it into a banner. Here's what clients will tell us. And sometimes they really don't know it until they see it. That sounded really different. That felt really different. There weren't any words in there that appear on every other website that I've ever been to. Intention. What is it we intend to provide? And what type of a culture do we intend to provide it? To whom do we intend to provide it? What is the intended outcome? And how do we intend to provide it? It's all there. Now, sounds a little esoteric, and it is, but it's meaningful. It starts to tell us something before we create your pieces in your brand. From there, I'm going to put you through another little exercise and just ask you, hey, what about you? Do you read books? Do you watch movies? Have you done coaching before? How do you raise your kids? Are you a person of faith? What do you do to decompress? Where do you go on vacation? What are your hobbies? What do you do? Tell us about you. All of that, as simple as it sounds, leads us to this. People practice meaningful process, compelling process. Now what we have to do is bring it to life. What becomes of the strategy? So let me share with you now a series of client-facing pieces, 3 really important ones, and then the rest of a brand library that we build. The first thing is introduction kit. I want you to pay close attention to the bullets as we go through them. This really is the initial brand piece. You think about being introduced to somebody, your introduction kit is going to go out as part of that introduction ahead of the meeting. And so we really focus on creating professional contrast here. And the words imprinting and the initial meeting, those are very important. Imprinting is going to come up again. We built a pretty simple 2-pocket folder. And on the right-hand side, we call it cascading. And what you'll see is 4 individual pieces. You'll recognize the Pareto verbiage, who we are, what we do, our partnership with our clients, and our process. Now, while each of those pieces can be pulled out and read individually by clients, what you notice is that when they lay in the kit together, they form what we call an aspirational image. Now, That aspirational image is not something we just go out on Google and go, hey, this is a beautiful picture of a sunset. You're going to love that. We're going to put it in there. It's an entire piece of our work with you. It's a whole call, actually, that we do with your team. It's an imagery call. We're going to find out what's going on in your part of the country. What are things that resonate with you? What's going on in the community? What resonates with clients? Then my brand and design team is going to put several images that we think match that idea in front of your team, and you're going to pick two. When you pick those two, we imprint them on every single thing that we build for your team, including your website. Now, on the left-hand side of the kit, there's the bios. My copyright team has been with me for 13 years. They're simply brilliant. And one of the things that we've learned from clients, hey, I'm interested in the kit. I'm interested in getting to know my advisor, but I don't want to read about her. This is what they say. I'll get to know her when I go into the office. I want to keep it simple and interesting. And so there's a focus on the left-hand side of doing just that. Now, if your team is bigger, then we can do multiple pages. If you have multiple locations, whatever it is, obviously we can customize that to fit you. But you'll notice in every version, what's consistent is the brand, the process, the formula, imagery. Here's what we found about imagery. Clients will attach as much to that as they do to the process and logo, and even you. It becomes a descriptor for them. So once we identify it, we want to make sure that we imprint it everywhere that clients will come in contact with. The second piece is the most significant client-facing presentation I've ever been around. I'll take credit for building the piece, but not for the presentation. This is stuff that I learned early on from Duncan. Shoot your trailer, and many of you are familiar with it. And if you're not familiar with it, you're going to get familiar with it pretty quickly. We call it First Appointment Brochure, and while I will say this, it has a dramatic effect, an amazing professional contrast effect on new prospects. But it also, when you think of reframing best clients, we've developed and refined our process. We want to sit down and share with you our brand and how you might describe us. It's really a powerful piece. So you can see on the cover, it's a very simple 8.5 by 14 bifold. You can see on the cover the brand image there. When we open it up, left-hand side, right-hand side, things that you recognize. On the left-hand side, the conversation around the 7 pillars. You know from doing the work with Duncan or your business consultant, how many things can you provide over the life of a relationship to a client? 113, 88, 55, whatever it might be. How many of those things can your clients remember? None. How many do they care about? Maybe 1 or 2? So we're going to take those 113 things and boil them down into 7 pillars, and there they are. But sometimes even 7 is too much, so we're going to boil that down to our one proprietary process. And we bring it to life in a unique and compelling way. On the right-hand side, super powerful, the Venn diagram. On the left, what matters most to our clients, the topics around family, occupation, recreation. On the right, what we can control, philosophy, planning strategy, process. And where the two overlap, you all know this story. That's where we live. That's where our process lives. Now, let me share a couple of things with you. I've been in about 30 presentations, appointments, where I got to watch the interaction between an advisor and a client with this piece. 2 things almost invariably happen every single time. Number 1, the client will actually point. So think you've taken the brochure and you've turned it upside down so it's in front of the client, or they have one themselves as you're walking through it. Clients will invariably point at the words, actually touch the words, wealth management, and say, you know what? My advisor only does wealth management. I didn't even know the rest of this was available. So it's a great method for things like as your life unfolds, your needs will evolve. So many things that we do aren't relevant now, but as your life evolves, they'll become relevant. And you've started to imprint this idea. And it's meaningful. It's easy to remember. It points to the one process. On the right-hand side with the Venn diagram, people will say this. This is a nice looking piece. I really like it. It's very attractive. And I wonder if you have 2 more of those. I have 2 friends that I'd like to introduce to you, and I get what's going on here. This is pretty simple, and I'd like to share this with them. So 2 meaningful, hey, my advisor only does this, you do more, and I want to share this. And if you look in the background of the piece, you'll see the brand image. So again, everywhere imprinted. From there, we go to a piece that a number of years ago I called Duncan. I had this idea, and this was when I was heavy into coaching, around ideal clients. I thought, man, the work that you do to define your ideal clients by attitudinal qualities is really special. It's really meaningful. But it's kind of awkward to get on the phone and say, hey, we've developed and refined our process and we know who we're best suited to work with, people just like you, and you're respectful and you're gracious and you have a sense of gratitude for today while being, aspirational for tomorrow and all those. It's fantastic, but it's a little awkward. So I actually wrote a white paper on it. Duncan was like, you can get all the white paper stuff you want, but let's just get to the point here. So he was very supportive, but I just came at it a different way. The whole idea was to communicate in a different way what it means to be an ideal client. And then we killed two birds with one stone and said, what if we got our ideal clients together in a reception? Now jot that down, not a workshop, not a seminar, a reception. We've scripted it all out. We help our advisors put it on, and we built the ideal client piece. There's the cover. You see the brand image. On the inside of the cover, the second brand image. On page 3, there is the descriptor. Now this is 8 pages of information, but we'll just show you the first 3. Hey, we've developed and refined our process. We've learned over the years we don't expect to be all things to all people, nor do we want to be. We've defined our ideal clients not by investments alone, but by attitudinal qualities. And shockingly, they turned out to be people just like us. And there we list it out. I've done about 15 of these with advisors. And as the consultant guy at the reception, I get to wander around and just watch people. It's amazing what happens when a client opens this piece and reads about themselves. Especially if it's fantastic like this. There's always a moment of recognition. I can tell. They raise their eyebrows, they nod their head. Then they look around the room and go, 17, 18, 19, this is a small group. You don't have 100 people in the room because you don't have 100 ideal clients. People are going, wow, this is pretty exclusive. And then number 3 always happens. You've defined me as an ideal client and listed out here why I'm really cool and awesome, and you got that right. And you know what? I hang out with people that are just like me, who are just like this. They must also then be ideal clients, and I now know how to introduce them to you. And we've seen that to be a foundational result of working this piece. And again, capturing the brand. And remember what I said early on, compelling best clients. It's not that they can talk about you, it's that they feel compelled to do so, and you can see as we go down the line why that is. From there are a number of other pieces, and I'll just share one in a more detailed piece, and that's the sounding board process. And this was amazing how this came out of a client interaction. I was working with one of my best advisors in Kansas City, and we had finished developing their brand and process and put all the pieces together, and I got invited to come into a couple of client appointments as they shared the new brand and pieces. It was fantastic. There was one lady that came in, an ideal client, and she sat down and she was really enamored with the pieces. And she said, oh my gosh, I have somebody I want to send. She used the word send. She didn't say I want to introduce or refer. She said, I have somebody I want to send over to you. How do I do that? And this advisor said, well, there's step 1, give us some information. And then step 2, we're going to reach out. And we're going to send the kit. And there was 3 or 4 steps. And I watched this client write it down on the back of a business card. And right then I said, no chance. Went back to my team and said, it's meaningful. We need to make this a client-facing branded piece. And here's the point for you right here. Simple is phenomenal. Don't get worked up. It seems too simple. People want 5 steps. Your clients will love this. And here we are committed to the words again. This isn't about accelerating referrals. This is about accelerating introductions. Positioning them as a service you provide to best clients. And at the top of the piece, the verbiage is right there. As a part of our process and a service to our best clients, we're happy to make ourselves available as a sounding board, and there it goes, and the 5 steps. Simple. It's become one of the most requested pieces that we build. And for all of you that have participated with us today, at the end, get in touch with Duncan, get in touch with the team, get in touch with us. We've mocked this up where we have put it together just like you see it, but taken out, left a spot for you to put your company name and put your process and logo at the bottom and your disclosure and start using it with clients. Just simply for being on, call the Pareto team and get this piece and start using it and watch what happens. So from there are other pieces. Everything that you do with your coach, everything from critical financial events to the service matrix. This was something I think you would agree. We've had a lot of advisors tell us that one of the coolest, most important things they've done in coaching is the idea of classifying clients. More importantly, once we classify clients, putting a service matrix together that provides services commensurate with the value certain clients provide to the organization. What we did, it was so powerful in conversation that we made client-facing pieces. Well, we made two pieces. One, internal, a service matrix for your internal staff. Who's doing what and when? Goes in the processes playbook. Keep it branded. We want it consistent, top of mind all the time. And then we built one that we call a stewardship framework. This is the one that's put in front of clients. Now, let me tell you this. I've been a part of these conversations. So many advisors have told us ahead of time, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put down in front of clients what the different service levels are. And I said, why not? He said, well, we're afraid of offending somebody. I'm like, who are you afraid of offending? Oh, my C clients. Really? You know what's interesting is that everywhere in society, clients understand sort of this classification and service levels. Think of a frequent flyer program, silver, gold, platinum. People who are silver that want to fly once every 2 years to get the family to Disney World, they don't care. Same is true here. And we have on numerous occasions had C clients go, wow, how do I get to become a B client? B clients would say, how do I get to become an A client? Simply by understanding what's available. So branded pieces around classifying clients and the service matrix. And then again, the brand library. It's all there. Everything you do with your business consultant. Blue Square, Pareto system, the knowledge bank, total client engagement. We do every piece, and then we will consult with your web provider. We're pretty skilled at that. What should go on the homepage? Where should certain image pieces show up? Where might we change the verbiage? Let me tell you something about websites. They're not for selling things anymore. They're for creating credibility. So once we build this brand and you start sharing it with clients, you've got to get the website updated. It'll be the first place they go to see if this is there, okay? And so we can help with that. And you know what? While clients don't seem to be able to put their finger on how everybody sounds exactly the same, when they see your process front and center on your website, they'll share it with us when we start to ask. They'll say it's really different, doesn't sound the same, doesn't look the same. Something that I want to share with people that are important to me, okay? And somehow or another, I'll tell you, I don't know how we've done it over the years, 200 plus advisors, every single brand has been unique. That's why I shared those steps with you up front. We will find out what your personal brand and process is, and then we will build it out. And I promise you, when you communicate it to clients, they will internalize it. They'll get it. They'll feel the connection, and they'll turn around and socialize it to others, okay? Last thing here, quickly, the PFO. This is fantastic. When I started chasing Duncan around the country 10 years ago, trying to learn what was going on, and I wanted to be a part of this, every meeting I showed up, he had this cardboard box with him, and he put it on the table, and at the end of the meeting, he'd open it up, and there was the PFO, and I thought, man, oh man, this is a big deal. But I was kind of the horse and buggy guy. I didn't get it in the beginning. I was like, really? It's 2010, man. We're doing leather binders? And then I started sitting down with clients and watching what happens when they get a hold of it. And they would pick it up and feel it, and they would smell it. The leather smells great. So it was meaningful, and only AAA clients, only advocates were getting these things. And the tabs, it was fantastic. But we realized, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot going in the tabs. And it occurred to us that once we develop the brand, why don't we develop branded information that goes behind the tabs? The first version, 17 pages. Second version, 39 pages. Now we're up to 64 pages branded to you that goes inside the PFOs that you get from Pareto. And let me tell you something. You know where the information came from? Your clients. We started to ask them, if you were going to build your own PFO, what would you put in it? So every page is branded. Then the clients would say, yeah, the checklists are all good. I kind of want to keep things organized, and that's a part of it. What's important to you? Who's important to you? Typical checklist. And then they started to say things like, you know, we want identity theft and password protection stuff in there. And we said, well, you don't want to put that on paper. And they're like, yes, we do. We want it. It's going to be in the binder. It's in the safe, or it's going to be someplace. We're fine with it. We want to get it down. Family security. Then they started to say things like organ donor. Things we would have never thought about, not just on the back of my license. We want to put it in the PFO. And then they would say things like, oh, pet care directive. We want to know what about who the vet is and favorite toys and all of that. The pets was a really, really big deal. And then we found out too, a lot of people parents, grandparents that are gamers and social media, and they wanted all of that listed in there. It was amazing. And then we put a page in for heirlooms, and we put a page in for creating a family tree, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's because of what clients have said were important. The other thing that we did there was we asked 3 of our top advisors. We said, well, we want you to start to build your own PFO and tell us how long it takes and so forth. Each of the 3 was more than 20 hours in and had less than 10 pages. You figure what you're worth hourly and what this piece would be worth to your clients as it grows. And let us know then if we can help you, okay? So, a quick reminder, as I thank you for the time, a quick reminder, if you've participated with us, get a hold of Duncan, get a hold of the team, get a copy of the generic mocked-up sounding board process. Start to use that with your clients. We'd love to hear how it goes. And for any other follow-up, there's my contact information. You'll be able to find us through your Pareto business consultant. You can get to us on advisorprotocol.com or reach me directly. And looking very much forward to a follow-up conversation. Until then, make sure that you stay grateful and make the minutes that you have with your family, with each other, and with your clients, make those minutes matter. Thanks for the time.